Okay, in this lesson, we're going to look at graphing inequalities. In the last lesson, we translated some sentences into inequalities and made sure we have an understanding of what less than and greater than and less than or equal and greater than or equal represent. So today we're going to graph those inequalities, and we're going to graph them on a number line, and we're going to do that by shading, and you'll understand what that means in a second. So let's take a quick look at the do now again and go to the next page, please. So the inequality for this is greater than, because Murphy ate more than 6 dog treats. So that's above 6. Doesn't include 6, so there's no equal sign to go with the inequality. So the numbers that go with this are anything above 6. But notice that we didn't circle 6. 7, 8, 9.1, everything that's above 6 is a solution to this inequality. All right, let's take a quick look at the homework again. So this homework is all about translating, and again, you really have to memorize and connect some of these words to the appropriate symbol. So more than is greater than. 7 carrots or less, so that includes the 7. 7 states or more, so that includes the 7. Under 7 doesn't include 7. This one's an equality, of course. And then no more than 60, that's a tricky one. So no more than means it has to be below, and it actually includes the 60 as well. This one you're going to have to memorize. We'll talk a little bit more about this later in the lesson. But think of it as not more than. So numbers above 60 don't meet this requirement, okay, because they are more than. We need numbers that are not more than 60, and those numbers will be below 60. All right, go ahead and turn to the next page, and we'll take a look at how we graph. All right, it's very important that we know the language of inequality. So once again, we're going to talk about what all these symbols mean. So we have J less than 4, K greater than 1, N less than or equal to 4, M greater than or equal to 1. And keep in mind, we could write these backwards. I could also write this as J less than 4. Whenever you have a variable in the inequality, you want to start with the variable when you say it, no matter which side it's on. So this one you're going to read as J less than 4, just like you read this one as J less than 4. Always start saying your inequality with the variable. All right, so let's think of some possible values that match these statements. So real quickly, possible values for n. N is less than or equal to 4, so we could have 4 and 3 and 2 and 0, right? Possible values for m. Well, m is greater than or equal to 1, so we could have 1, right? And we could have 2 and 3 and 17, just as an example. All right. Impossible values for n. Well, n is less than or equal to 4, so some impossible values would be 5 and 6 and 20. And impossible values for m. Again, m is greater than or equal to 1, so 0. Some negative numbers would all be impossible because they are not greater than or equal to 1. All right, so let's take a look at an example of how we graph. So our example is G less than 7. So step 1 is to identify the starting point. So our starting point is always going to be the number, no matter which side it's on. And then you have to decide, and we've done this a little bit before, are you going to put an open circle or a closed circle? For open circles are just less than or greater than inequalities. Closed circles are when you have equal signs as part of your inequality. This, of course, is just less than, so it's going to have an open circle at our starting point. So I'm going to put an open circle at 7. Something like that. All right. The important step is you're going to shade to the right or left of the starting point, depending on the inequality. If numbers that satisfy the inequality are below, you want to shade left. If numbers that satisfy the inequality are above, you're going to shade right. Well, what kind of numbers are going to satisfy g less than 7? I would say numbers like 6 and 5 and 2. Those numbers are below, so we're going to shade left. All the way down. And we're done. So the two important components of this are the starting point, open or closed circle, and then shading in the right direction. All right, I'm going to do one more with you. I'm going to have you do these 3 on your own. We're going to graph each of these problems, okay? So let's start with j less than 4. So my starting point is 4, and it's just less than, so I'm going to have an open circle at 4. Numbers that are less than 4 are 3 and 2 and 1. Those numbers are below, so we're going to shade left. Just like that. Okay, actually I'm going to do the n one with you as well, I think. So we have n less than or equal to 4. So we have our starting point, again, is 4, but because it's an equal sign attached to it as well, it's going to be closed. So at 4, I'm going to have a closed circle. Try to make that a little bigger. And we're looking at numbers less than or equal to 4, so numbers like 3, 2, 1, 0 are below, so that means we shade left. Something like this. All right, go ahead and pause the video for about a minute or two, and I want you to graph the 2 on this side, okay, the K and the M. So go ahead and pause the video and come back and see how you did. All right, check out what we did here. So the first one is K greater than 1. So it's just greater than, so we're going to have an open circle at 1. Numbers that are greater than 1 are 2, 3, 4. So numbers that are above that means we shade to the right. So I have my shading starting at 1 and going to the right. The only difference with the next one is that it's greater than or equal to 1, which means we have a closed circle at 1. Greater than or equal means numbers are above, which means we shade to the right. All right, go ahead and turn to the next page. We're going to do some practice. I'm going to do the first one with you, and I'm going to have you work on the rest on your own. So, you're going to read the sentence. You're going to translate this into an inequality. You're going to at least figure out if it's less than or greater than or equal or less than or equal. And then you're going to graph it on the number line. So, Huff and Puff under 52 inches. So that's definitely going to be less than. Under means less than. Does not include 52. It has to be under 52. So numbers that are under 52 are below 52, like 51 and 50, which means we shade to the left. So my starting point is 52, so I have an open circle, and then because my numbers are below 52, I shade to the left. All right, I'm going to have you pause the video and try the rest of these, and then come back and see how you did. All right, check out these answers. At least is one of those tricky ones. That's one you're going to have to memorize. At least means greater than or equal to. So it includes the 42, so it's a closed circle. And at least 42 means numbers like 43 and 44 satisfy it. So we shade it to the right. Under 54, again, under means below, but doesn't include 54, so I have an open circle. And then I'm looking for numbers that are below, so I shade to the left. And then 36 inches or higher, which includes the 36, so I have an equal sign. Closed circle at 36, so numbers that are higher, so I shade to the right. All right, go ahead and turn to the next page for more practice. All right, I'm going to do these problems with you because they contain some language that I want to make sure that you get straight because it's a little less obvious. So we're going to write the inequality and then graph it. Looking at this first problem, the temperature today will be no more than 3 degrees. So this no more always trips people up. So we're going to think about it in this box over here. I want you to list some numbers that are no more than 3. So what would those numbers be? 2 is a number that's no more than 3. 3 is a number that's no more than 3. 1 is a number that's no more than 3. So any number that is more than 3 doesn't count. We want it to be no more or not more than 3. So bad numbers would be 4, 5, and so on. So my point is no more than is the same as less than or equal. You have to memorize that, okay? So our inequality over here is going to be the temperature is no more than or less than or equal to 3. And how do we graph that? Well, we have our starting number. We know that's going to be a closed circle, so I'm going to put a big closed dot on 3. And then we're looking for numbers that are no more than 3. Those numbers are below. So that means we shade to the left, like that. All right, so number 1, 2, and 3 are examples of this. So let's take a look at those real quickly. We have another no more than 2 situation. So some number is no more than 2, which means it's less than or equal to 2. So I'm going to put a closed dot on 2. Make sure you see where 2 is, right? We have 0 and we have 5, so in between is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why I'm putting a dot there. And less than or equal to means my numbers are below, so I shade to the left. All right, 2 is a little more straightforward, right? We have a number greater than or equal to 3, so that's not so bad. And greater than or equal to 3. So that means I put a closed circle on 3. And I shade to the right, because numbers that are greater than or equal to 3 are above 3, so I shade to the right. And then last we have an at least, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. At least, so some numbers that are at least 4. Well, 4 is at least 4. 5 is at least 4. 6 is at least 4. 7 is at least 4. So at least means that number or above. So at least means greater than or equal. Again, you have to memorize that. At least means greater than or equal. So to finish up this problem, we have a number that's at least 4. That means it's greater than or equal to 4. So I have a closed dot on 4, and numbers that are greater than or equal to are above. So I shade to the right. Again, I can't emphasize enough, you have to memorize this. No more is less than or equal. At least is greater than or equal. All right, go ahead and turn to the next page for some practice. All right, I'm going to have you work on these on your own. The first problem is to identify an error, or actually there's 2 errors in this, so write what you think those are. And then 13 is just some more translating and graphing. So go ahead and pause the video, work on these, and then come back and see how you did. All right, let's take a look at some of these answers, some highlights. So less than or equal to means a closed circle. That's the first mistake that Amanda made. And then less than or equal to also means we shade to the left. So she shaded to the right, so that's the 2 mistakes that she made. And then we just have some basic translations. More than means greater than, closed circle. Oh, I didn't do my shading yet. Let's make sure we shade in the right direction for these. So greater than 4 means above. The next one is greater than or equal to 3. It's a closed circle. It's also shaded above. Greater than 0.5. Did I trick you on that one? 50 cents is 0.5, so I have a circle around roughly where 0.5 is, and greater than, of course, means it's going to be above 0.5. And then less than 3, I have a open circle around 3 because it doesn't include 3. And less than 3 means below, so I circle to the left. All right, so there you have it. Let me know if you have any questions, and if not, if there's time, you can go ahead and start the homework.